Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I hope you're all doing very well. So the Emmy nominees were announced today, and as is tradition on my channel, I'm going to be diving into my thoughts, feelings, reactions to this year's nominees list. So I'm super excited to dive into this video. I love doing these videos on my channel, so this is going to be a good one. Even though I'm somehow going to have to film, edit and post this video in the same evening, and it's already 9 p.m. Like, I don't know I don't know how I'm gonna do that. And to make matters worse, I gave myself an extra job of doing a Wonka trailer reaction, so like I don't know what's going on. I'm trying to make up for the fact that it's been a while since I posted, but I think I've gone too far. Wish me luck, okay? If you are watching this on Wednesday, then great, I succeeded. But if you're watching it on Thursday, then don't be too mad at me. Please forgive me. But this is a tough order, okay? But as per usual, if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to my channel and make sure you turn on your notifications so that you can be told when I upload next. Now, without further ado, guys, let's dive into the nominees list for the 2023 Emmys. Okay, so starting us off, we have the Best Lead Actress in a Drama Series category. And here the nominees are Sharon Horgan for Bad Sisters, Melanie Lynskey for Yellow Jackets, Elizabeth Moss for The Handmaid's Tale, Bella Ramsey for The Last of Us, Kerry Russell for The Diplomat, and Sarah Snook for Succession. So I would say that this is a pretty strong-ish category. I think there's one particular standout, which we'll talk about in a second. But just to go through the list, we have Sharon Horgan from Bad Sisters. If you watched the Genie Awards last year, then you'll know that Bad Sisters is an incredible series on Apple TV Plus. It's one of the best things that they've ever produced, even though it got very minimal advertising, and those people who have checked it out absolutely loved it. So if you haven't watched Bad Sisters yet, I highly recommend it because it's an exceptional show, and I'm so happy to see Sharon Horgan be nominated for her work here. I'm surprised that it's in the drama category because I feel like it's a dark comedy. It's just as much a comedy as The Bear is, and The Bear is nominated for comedy categories. So I'm pretty surprised by this kind of event. But I guess it's all down to how Apple decided to, you know, put forward their candidates for nomination. And I guess they chose the drama category, even though I think that may have been a mistake because the drama category is pretty much a lock. But we'll go through the list. Next we have Elizabeth Moss for The Handmaid's Tale. I disagree with this one, honestly. I'm just so over Elizabeth Moss in The Handmaid's Tale at this point. I did a review, I think as part of what I've been watching, of the latest season of The Handmaid's Tale, and I just like, I'm ready for this to be over. At this point, I'm ready for the show to be over, and it breaks my heart to say this because at one point it was one of my favorite shows like ever, but I've had enough of the gazing and the open mouth staring. Like, I've had enough of it. So all due respect to Elizabeth Moss, but like, this was not the year to be seeing her here again. Next we have Bella Ramsey for The Last of Us. I believe they're non-binary, so I'll refer to them with their pronouns, but I'm really happy to see them here, you know, nominated for that incredible work in The Last of Us series. As much praise as Pedro Pascal has gotten for his performance on that show, they also gave an incredible performance alongside him. So it's truly remarkable to see, you know, them be able to step up to the plate like that, and for them to be rewarded with this nomination is phenomenal. Speaking of HBO though, I am surprised to see not much love for the House of the Dragon cast. Okay, this is shocking to me, but either way it doesn't really matter because this is and should go to Sarah Snook for Succession. Yeah, absolutely. For season 4 of Succession. Are you joking? Are you kidding? Perhaps you've forgotten, but Sarah Snook ate her role up in season 4 of Succession. So I would be shocked truly if she didn't end up taking home this Emmy. Okay, so moving on, we have, of course, Best Lead Actor in a Drama Series. And here the nominees are Jeff Bridges in The Old Man, Brian Cox for Succession, Kieran Culkin for Succession, Bob Odenkirk for Better Call Saul, Pedro Pascal for The Last of Us, and Jeremy Strong for Succession. The Succession boys are here. This is a tricky one. This is a very, very tricky category. I mean, all three of the Succession boys gave great performances in the final season of the show. It's really, really tough. I almost feel like they cancel each other out, but they really shouldn't. They really, really shouldn't, because someone from Succession needs to win. Someone needs to win. If it were up to me, I would probably give it to Kieran Culkin, if I'm being honest. I would give it to Kieran Culkin. I think, Kendall had some really good standout moments in the final season of the show, but Kieran had moments that were really vastly different. You have the episode where, the big spoiler alert, but the dad dies, okay? That dad dies, Papa Succession dies, and Kieran Culkin's performance in that, the way that he's just so childlike and immature, is just so, interesting, and it was just so different from what all of the other adults were doing in the room. He was just so consistently excellent and brilliant. But then there's the episode of the election, the presidential election, where he just turns into this uncaring and uncompassionate shark who's just in it for himself, and it just changes the view of the character completely. And then that changes again, because just when he's coming off of this high of being on top of the world and being in allegiance with this fascist politician, he just crumbles during his father's funeral, and it's just a whole different dynamic to the character. So I think he went through more ebbs and flows and waves and everything, and I think he deserves to take it home in this category. But it's a tough one. It's a tough one. I think it's pretty much between him and Jeremy, and who knows what the Academy will decide. Okay, so next up we have Best Supporting Actress in a Drama Series, and here the nominees are Jennifer Coolidge for The White Lotus, Elizabeth Debicki for The Crown, Megan Fahey for The White Lotus, Sabrina Impacciatore for The White Lotus, Aubrey Plaza for The White Rhea Sheehorn for Better Call Saul, J. Smith Cameron for Succession, and Simona Tabasco for The White Lotus. A lot of White Lotus love here. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't know. I'll put my hands up and say I like The White Lotus. I like it a lot. I think it's really fun. But I don't see what everyone else sees when it comes to this level of praise and prestige and love and adoration from the Academy. That for this whole category to just be made up of the cast of The White Lotus, the female cast, is just that's a choice. That's a choice, okay? A choice that I personally disagree with. But in terms of who's gonna take this one home, I don't know. I'm not even that passionate, because it's literally just the White Lotus crowd, especially because now it's in the drama category. Previously it was in limited series / anthology series, even though it wasn't an anthology series, but now it's firmly in drama, rightfully so. And I'm kind of struggling with, who stands out to me. For me personally, when it comes to pure quality of performance, I would give it to Elizabeth Debicki for The Crown. She was the shining star of that season. The season overall didn't get a lot of love, and there were issues with it. But I mean, you couldn't knock her performance. You can't fault her performance as Princess Diana. So I personally would give it to her, but she seems to be drowned out in this White Lotus noise. So I don't know. I think it might go to Jennifer Coolidge, even though her performance was more comedic to me. So for her to win in the drama category would make no sense. But Hollywood often makes no sense. So so I wouldn't be surprised if they went in that direction. The only other standout to me would be, again, amongst the White Lotus noise, we have Rhea Sheehorn for Better Call Saul. They may just finally reward Better Call Saul after all of these years. In fact, I don't even know how it's nominated here. When did the last season come out? I can't even remember. But either way, somehow it qualifies, and perhaps she will get rewarded for all of her alleged incredible hard work on the show, because I've never watched the show, but honestly a part of me is hoping that Rhea Seehorn takes it home, at the very least, so that the Better Call Saul fans can go to sleep, you know, happy, because they've been suffering. And then next up, of course, we have Best Supporting Actor in a Drama Series, and here the nominees are F. Murray Abram for The White Lotus, Nicholas Braun for Succession, Michael Imperioli for The White Lotus, Theo James for The White Lotus, Matthew McFadden for Succession, Alan Ruck for Succession, Will Sharp for The White Lotus, and Alexander Skarsgård for Succession. This is insane to me. Again, like, first of all, no love for the House of the Dragon gang whatsoever. Like, HBO blew its budget on promoting The White Lotus and Succession and completely shut out House of the Dragon, which is surprising to me. We don't have any Matt Damon, no Paddy Constantine, like literally no one has been represented here, which is shocking to me. But, you know, in terms of who is here on this list, I think there's only one guy, right? Like, I think there's only one contender to take the award home, and that kind of has to be Matthew McFadden for Succession, because Tom is that guy. Tom won Baskins, you know, he is the guy, absolutely, this season. And Matthew McFadden has given it his all every single season. But certainly with the final one, like, that was just an incredible portrayal of this, you know, really complex character and often unlikable character. Yeah, I think it's pretty much a lock that it'll go home with him. But, you know, who knows? Maybe one of the White Lotus boys will come in and sweep that award away from him. That would be wild. Oh, that would be... Also, it'd be even crazier if Nicholas Braun won the award instead of him. It's not going to happen, but that would be even funnier just from the context of the characters in the show. So then naturally, next up we have Best Drama Series, and here the nominees are Andor, Better Call Saul, The Crown, House of the Dragon, The Last of Us, Succession, The White Lotus, and Yellow Jackets. So this is a pretty interesting mix, mostly HBO dominated. I mean, all of these categories have been HBO dominated. But, you know, House of the Dragon was absent from the acting categories, which was a shame. But it is present here. And would I give it to House of the Dragon? Listen, for me personally, okay, I would give it to House of the Dragon. I would. I know it's not going to go to House of the Dragon because Game of Thrones won a bunch of awards when, you know, it was in its peak. So I don't think it's going to win. But Succession, I've always said, you know, I've always put my hands up, once again, just keeping my hands right up here. I've always said that Succession isn't like my favorite show. I love Succession, don't get me wrong. I'm scared of the Succession fans. I love Succession, but like I was never like frothing at the mouth, you know? I think the closest I got to doing so was like season 2. I think that was my favorite season of the show. And then season 4 came along, and especially with that 3rd episode, which was literally just a masterclass in filmmaking, period. I really started to enjoy the show then. But even after, you know, that episode, there were a few like moments where I was like, okay, what are we doing? Where are we going? And so yeah, Succession has always had that thing where it just doesn't captivate me all the time, especially when they're talking about that business jargon stuff that just kind of makes me wander off a little bit. But when it comes to House of the Dragon, oh, I'm paying attention fully, 100%. Like, I'm at the edge of my seat, okay? So that's, you know, the difference for me, and that's why I would choose House of the Dragon over Succession. But I think it's likely going to go to Succession. You know, ultimately, I think Succession had a very strong season. It blew up in popularity just as it was ending, and I think the cast like absolutely smashed it, as did the showrunners, the directors. Like, everyone was just on their A game to produce the best version of this show that they could, and it shows because the final season was one of its best. Then quickly, in terms of the other nominees, we have Better Call Saul here once again. I don't think it's going to be taking home the award though, but we also have Andor. That's fun. I candor. So I'm very happy to see it be acknowledged here, even though I don't think it's likely that it's going to be taking home the award. Okay, so now we are diving into the comedy categories, and this is where things are heating up. I don't know if this was the case last year, but this year the comedy category is crazy competitive, and we have a lot of diversity and range within the categories as well. So I'm really excited to be diving into these ones. Okay, so first one up we have is Best Lead Actress in a Comedy Series, and here the nominees are Christina Applegate for Dead to Me, Rachel Brosnahan for The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, this is our brand new Lois Lane, Quinta Brunson for Abbott Elementary, Natasha Lyonne for Poker Face, and Jenna Ortega for Wednesday. So like I said, this is a really exciting category to me. I do believe Quinta Brunson won the Emmy last year for season 1 of Abbott Elementary, rightfully so, because she's an icon, she's a legend. So I do think it's possible that this could be more of an open category this year. Perhaps we'll see Rachel Brosnahan take it home for the final season of Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, or maybe we might even see Natasha Lyonne take it home for Poker Face, because that is a brand new show and she absolutely killed it on that series. So I could see that happening. Or we could even see Jenna Ortega take it home for Wednesday. I don't think Wednesday is like a laugh out loud comedy series. Again, these categories are like finessed just a little bit. Netflix was like, yeah, just put it in, you know, a comedy because it has no chance in drama, so just stick it in here. But yeah, I could see Jenna Ortega take it home. I mean, she's not as like white hot as she was, you know, coming out the gate in like December, January times during that award season for like the Golden Globes and stuff, and she didn't win then because Quinta Brunson took home the Golden Globe, I believe. So I don't know if her chances are quite as assured for the Emmys, but I think the Emmys have a pretty long memory. They have to, because you know, these are shows from like last year May time, so they need to take all of that into account, and I think there is a chance that Jenna could take home her first ever Emmy, but we shall see. I think it's a pretty open category, especially between Natasha Lyonne and Jenna Ortega, because they are newcomers. Okay, so next up, naturally, we have Best Lead Actor in a Comedy Series, and here the nominees are Bill Hader for Barry, Jason Segel for Shrinking, Martin Short for Only Murders in the Building, Jason Sudeikis for Ted Lasso, and Jeremy Allen White for The Bear. There is only one correct answer to this question. There is only one correct nominee who should become a winner, and it's Jeremy Allen White for The Bear. Please, 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 please. The Academy has one singular job to give this guy all of the gold, all of the awards that he deserves. Please, 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 please. I'm not just talking to the TV Academy, I'm talking to the Film Academy. Like, I give him an Oscar, give him a Golden Globe, all of the awards. All of the awards. I'm not even joking. Because he gave one of the best performances of the year, period. So like, just give it to him. Even though his performance was largely non-comedic and it was other people around him that were funnier, it doesn't matter. We always need a straight man in a comedy anyway, so like, give it to this straight man. Give it to this straight man. Listen, I'm gonna make it clear right here, right now. If I see The Bear in any of these categories, the award needs to go to it, period. No questions are actually... There might be a couple of questions asked in a following category, which we'll talk about. But I think for the most part, no questions asked. The Bear just needs to get those awards, because season 1 and season 2, please. It's literally no competition. Okay, so next up we have Best Supporting Actress in a Comedy Series. And here the nominees are Alex Borstein for The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Ayo Edebiri for The Bear, Janelle James for Abbott Elementary, Cheryl Lee Ralph for Abbott Elementary, Juno Temple for Ted Lasso, Hannah Waddingham for Ted Lasso, and Jessica Williams for Shrinking. This is a category. This is how you do an Emmy category. You see how bored I was for the drama category? We have The White Lotus, Succession, and The Last of Us. Literally just those 3 shows were represented in the drama categories. But now we have competition. Now we have juice. Now we have variety. Oh, I love this. This is one of the best categories of this whole lot, like truly. And listen, what did I just say about the bear? What did I just say about the bear? This is going to Ayo Edebiri. I'm manifesting it right now. This is going to Ayo Edebiri. However, we can discuss the others just for fun. Just, we're already here. So we have Cheryl Lee Ralph, who already won for Abbott Elementary last year, rightfully so. So I don't think she's gonna win again unless these people didn't watch the bear. Unless these people didn't watch the bear. So I think she's good with her Emmy already. Like, she's fine, she's Gucci, that's cool. And then when it comes to Hannah Waddingham, I think she also won an Emmy, right? For like season 2 of Ted Lasso. So I think she's also fine and dandy and cool. She already has her Emmy, I believe. So yeah, I don't think this final season was like her season specifically. So yeah, I wouldn't put her down as the win. But I did just want to quickly talk about Jessica Williams for Shrinking. I love that she's on this list because Shrinking was a phenomenal actual comedy, mind you. Okay, straight up comedy show. And the cast was brilliant in it. You know, I saw Jason Segel was also nominated for Best Actor in a Comedy, and rightfully so, in my opinion. But to see Jessica Williams there, I mean, she was great. So many funny moments for her character on the show. I don't love how they ended it, where they suggested that she was in love with... I don't love that part. If you watched it, then you know. If you haven't, then I don't want to spoil it. And I do highly recommend. Again, another great show that Apple TV Plus has produced, but hardly ever advertises. Anywho, but yeah, so very happy to see Jessica Williams on this list. But I'm also very, very ecstatic to see Janelle James on this list for Abbott Elementary as well. Because I think if there's anyone else that I would like to see go home with the Emmy this year, it's Janelle James. Which brings me to my PSA. Gather round, children, gather round. It's time for Jean's public service announcement. In my humble opinion, Janelle James deserves all of the awards ever created for comedic performances for her role as Principal Ava in Abbott Elementary. In my humble opinion, I think she's one of the funniest actresses on that show, and the fact that she consistently gets overlooked is a little bit mind-boggling to me. Like, I'm just like, why is that the case? You know, I get that Cheryl Lee Ralph has been in the industry for longer, and so she has that like name recognition and respectability, and she's really, really strong in the series. Do not get me wrong, okay? But I think in terms of like, if we're rewarding comedy, like, if we're rewarding comedy, why are we not giving Janelle James the gold? Like, why are we not? Because she's the funniest. Principal Ava is an icon. She's the funniest character on the show. So like, why is she getting overlooked? So that's my PSA over. Okay, that's my PSA over. But yeah, if it doesn't go into the hands of Ayo Edebiri, which it absolutely should, otherwise I'm watching you, Academy. But if it doesn't go into her hands, at the very least, to give Janelle James her gold, which she deserved last year, in my opinion, for her role as Principal Ava in Abbott Elementary. And then next up, we have, of course, Best Supporting Actor in a Comedy Series. And here the nominees are Anthony Carrigan for Barry, Phil Dunster for Ted Lasso, Brett Goldstein for Ted Lasso, James Marsden for Jury Duty, Eben Moss-Backrack for The Bear, Tyler James Williams for Abbott Elementary, and Henry Winkler for Barry. So again, we have a lot of diversity in this category. We have different shows being represented. They're largely coming in pairs, apart from Abbott Elementary, with Tyler James Williams being the only nominee here. But I think it's, you know, fun to see the variety. First one that stands out to me is James Marsden for Jury Duty. And for those of you who don't know, Jury Duty is that Freevee, I can't even say the word, Freevee show that became quite popular, and it's a comedy series that's basically like a mockumentary that has one guy that has no idea what's going on, but they are supposed to be on jury duty, and this one guy thinks it's real, but everyone else is in on the joke and they're actors, and one of those actors is James Marsden, who, you know, plays himself on the show. I did check it out after everyone praised the show. And it's funny because I recently watched the interview with Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling. That's all that I've been doing, by the way. That's literally all that I've been doing. I've been watching Barbenheimer content 24/7, please. So I am counting down the seconds. But anywho, I was watching this interview with Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling, and she mentions how much she loves jury duty, and then Ryan Gosling like pauses. He pauses for a second and Margot's like, what? It sounds like you don't like jury duty. And he's like, no, I'm just concerned about the ethics for the main guy, because the main guy doesn't, you know what's going on. He's not in on the joke during filming. So he's like, I'm concerned about the ethics. But in my mind, I was like, I don't love jury duty. And I'm with Ryan Gosling, not about the ethics thing, but like, it's just not my fave. This kind of reminds me of when everyone was praising the other two, the series, the other two, before it got into that scandal. We won't get into that, but yeah, people were praising that show as well, and I checked it out because, you know, I'm always looking to see a good comedy show, and on both accounts, I was just left like, it's kind of meh about them. But it's crazy to see Jury Duty actually be nominated here for James Marsden's performance. I do think he was great. Like, he was a standout to me. And it's crazy that Freevee, you know, has its, I think, its first Emmy nomination as a platform. So that's, again, really exciting for that streaming service. It's a free streaming service that has ads. So it's like this new batch of streaming services that we're starting to see. The traditional streaming services donate or, you know, give away their original content too. You know, for those of you wondering what happens to the original content in the streaming services that kind of ditch them, some of that content ends up in platforms like Freevee. And if you want to hear more about that, I have a whole video about it, so you can check it out on my channel. Going back to the category at large, we have Phil Dunster for Ted Lasso. I'm really happy to see him here because I think he was absolutely phenomenal in the last season of Ted Lasso, the last season. I think he was a standout for sure, and I loved seeing his characters developing friendship with Roy. I can't remember anyone's names at the moment, I'm so sorry, it's so late at night. Anyway, but their developing friendship was just, Jamie, that's his name, Jamie Tart. Jamie and Roy's friendship was excellent, and I'm really happy to see him be nominated here. I'm also really happy to see Evon Moss-Bachrach be nominated for the Bear Season 2. And I think I would like it to go to him. Yeah, I'm looking at the list. I'm looking at the list, and I think I would give it to him, honestly, because his performance in the Bear Season 2 was spectacular, especially the solo episode that he got where he went to that other restaurant to pattern up. That was brilliant. Brilliant storytelling, but also brilliant acting from the actor. So I would actually give it to him, low-key. So yeah, I think that would be a really satisfactory turnout. But if not, then I would be happy with Phil Dunster or Tyler James Williams always, because he's phenomenal in Abbott Elementary. Okay, so next up, naturally, we have Best Comedy Series Overall. And here the nominees are Abbott Elementary, Barry, The Bear, Jury Duty, The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, Only Murders in the Building, Ted Lasso, and Wednesday. So I may have sounded a bit surprised to see Jury Duty here, but that's because I was. I didn't realize it got its own solo nomination, but that's amazing. So it has actually been nominated as a show for Best Comedy Series, which is a huge win for, like I said, Freevee as a platform. So they're going to be able to advertise that everywhere. I think it's going to be a really big deal for that platform. I don't think it's going to win, though. In terms of which show is going to win, I don't know. Like, have you been paying attention? Have you been paying attention? Who do you think I think should win this award? Come on, say Ella. The Bear. It should be The Bear. The Bear is my favorite show of the year, period. You know, oh, I need to do a roundup for 2023 so far. Oh, I keep forgetting to do that. Okay, let me write that on my list. Anyways, The Bear is my favorite show of the year so far, period. Spoiler alert. So yeah, it needs to go home with the award, hands down. Oh my god, it's not even close. I mean, I guess the closest thing would be like Abbott Elementary, which I always love, but it got it last year and I'm really happy with that. So I'm happy to hand it over to the other Disney property, The Bear. So yeah, it's funny because, you know, Disney was completely or almost completely absent from the drama categories, with only Andor showing up, even though I think there were some acting categories that could have had some Andor characters in there, like Stellan Skarsgård, and even Diego Luna himself should have been nominated, come to think of it. But in the comedy categories, Disney has done pretty well through Hulu, FX, and ABC, with, oh, let me get the order right, Only Murders in the Building, The Bear, and Abbott Elementary, respectively. Yes. So yeah, that's pretty impressive for, you know, the studio. And I do think there's a good chance, if all is right and just in the world, that The Bear will take this award home. I think it should take home all of the comedy awards. Just like Abbott Elementary dominated last year with the comedy awards, it should be The Bear's year this year. Please, please, don't be ridiculous. Don't do something stupid, Academy. Just give it to The Bear. If there's any doubt, just give it to The Bear. Okay, so next we're moving on to the limited series / anthology series categories. And first up, the nominees for Best Lead Actress in a Limited Series or Anthology or Movie, etc. and so forth, are Lizzie Kaplan for Fleischman is in Trouble, Jessica Chastain for George and Tammy, Dominique Fishback for Swarm, Riley Coe for Daisy Jones and the Six, Catherine Hahn for Tiny Beautiful Things, and Ali Wong for Beef. So this is an interesting category. I like the variety of nominees here. We don't have as much doubling up this time around. I've only seen Beef, unfortunately. I haven't gotten a chance to check out Swarm because I heard it's like a horror and I don't do horror. Those of you who know. So I've only watched Beef here, and I have to say Ali Wong will probably be my best bet for the win. I wish I could say that with more passion and enthusiasm. If it wasn't for that stupid scandal where she defended that guy that was such a creep and so awful, then I would be really happy to say this, because I think she really knocked it out of the park in Beef. Like, she was so brilliant. You know, she's already a comedic talent and she's known for that, but the drama that she gave to her performance in this series was just so fantastic and really awe-inspiring that I do think she deserves the nomination, and it's just a shame that I'm annoyed at her for her reaction to that scandal surrounding her co-star. But yeah, I think she's likely to win, unless that scandal did a lot more damage than I thought. I think she is likely to take this one home, and deservedly so. So then next up we have Best Lead Actor in a Limited Series, etc. and so forth. And here the nominees are Taron Egerton for Blackbird, Camille Nanjiani for Welcome to Chippendales, Evan Peters for Dharma, Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story, Daniel Radcliffe for Weird, the Al Yankovic story, Michael Shannon for George and Tammy, and Stephen Yeun for Beef. So again, another really strong category here. In terms of the ones that I have watched, I've watched Blackbird. By the way, for the other ones, I watched most of them. But for the limited series, sometimes it's tougher to catch, especially because in the UK, they tend to come out all over the place and much later. So the ones that I have seen are Blackbird. I didn't watch Monster. I didn't want anything to do with the Jeffrey Dahmer show. Weird, the Al Yankovic story, I did actually watch. I didn't love it. I didn't love it. I thought it was fine. It was like, okay. Daniel Radcliffe is like crazy and like pretty good in it, to be fair. But the TV movie itself just didn't tickle me as much as it did other people. I haven't seen George and Tammy, and I have, of course, seen Beef. And again, and again, I would give it to Steven Yeun because he was bloody fantastic in Beef. Like, he actually really was. And I wish I was more enthusiastic, except that bloody scandal just ruined everything for me. Because, oh, his co-stars' comments were really bad. If you watch the video, like, you know, they were really, really bad. And for them to have defended him, it's just like, so even though I do think they deserve the awards based off of their performances, and also they themselves didn't commit the horrible scandal, so I feel better about supporting that outcome, but I still have a bad taste in my mouth. But in terms of my second pick, and I'm surprised he's my second pick because I could have sworn up and down that he'd be my first, but then Beef came around. Taron Egerton for Blackbird. Taron Egerton was bloody brilliant in oh, please, 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 please. He was brilliant in Blackbird. Again, if it wasn't for Steven Yeun, Taron Egerton would, like, he would easily claim his prize. Easily. But I think it might be Steven taking it home after his incredible performance in Beef. I think that might be the outcome here. And again, I have mixed feelings, but ultimately it would be the right thing. Okay, so next up, I'm not going to be diving into the supporting actors for the limited series categories. So we're going to go straight into best limited series or anthology series or movie, blah, blah, blah. And the nominees here are Beef, Dharma, Monster, the Jeffrey Dahmer story, Daisy Jones and the Six, Fleischman is in Trouble, and Obi-Wan Kenobi. It's funny that they nominated Obi-Wan Kenobi but then didn't nominate Ewan McGregor for his performance in the show. But I'm happy to see Obi-Wan Kenobi be nominated here because I genuinely really enjoyed that series. It wasn't the strongest of the Star Wars Disney Plus shows, but it was definitely one of the better ones for sure. I don't think it matters though because I'm pretty sure the winner is going to be Beef. And rightfully so. Again, I didn't watch Dharma, I didn't watch Daisy Jones and the Six or Fleischman is in Trouble, so maybe those shows they're probably really, really good, to be fair, but Beef was genuinely like groundbreaking and phenomenal. And so yeah, I would bet that it's probably going to take the award home ultimately, and I feel largely okay with that, even though again, that bloody scandal. Okay, so now before I log off and quickly try to edit this video, I did want to touch on the guest actors categories. I don't usually do that. I'm not going to go through all of them in as much detail, but I did just want to point out a few that made me really happy to see. First one up, we have best guest actor in a drama series, where we saw Murray Bartlett and Nick Offerman be nominated for The Last of Us, and I think that is brilliant because of course episode 3 of The Last of Us was one of the best episodes of television literally ever, and so I'm glad that the Academy remembered that and nominated both actors. It's a shame that they're both in the same category. That's going to be a tough decision, but I'm really happy to see their names pop up here, and I was so happy, so freaking happy, guys. The smile on my face. I was so happy to see, oh, apologies if I mispronounce his name, but Kayvon Montreal Woodard from The Last of Us, he portrays Sam. He portrays the young Sam, the young adorable black deaf kid who meets a horrible end on that show that had me crying, sobbing, shaking, quaking. Okay, walking back and forth in a corner. He has been nominated for an Emmy. Guys, when I tell you I was delighted, like this is pretty much the main reason why I wanted to talk about this. I was so happy to see him be nominated because again, he was another bright spot in the season of The Last of Us. So we also have Lamar Johnson, who portrays his older brother, be nominated here as well. I mean, this is a very, again, Last of Us heavy category, but these are people who deserve the recognition for sure because they just had such bright moments elements on the show that helped make it so great in the first place. And there's a similar theme for the Best Guest Actress category as well, with a lot of, again, Succession and Last of Us actresses. We have Storm Reid in there, which is phenomenal. But then we move on to the comedy section, where we have Best Guest Actress. That is a mouthful. Where we saw Queen Taraji Queen Taraji P. Henson being nominated for her role in Abbott Elementary. Absolutely, like yes. Abso-freaking-lutely. Are you joking? Oh, first of all, perfect casting, like exceptional, perfect casting to have Taraji P. Henson portray Quinta Brunson's mum on the show. Like, oh, mwah, brilliant. But just the way that she personified the character was just so, it was so Taraji, but she did such a great job, and she fit into the world of Abbott Elementary as well. So I was so happy to see her, and I think it's great that she's been nominated for her work. Then speaking of Quinta Brunson herself, she has also been nominated in this category, this time around for her performance in Saturday Night Live, which I did watch her episode on YouTube, but I saw the clips. I especially loved the sketch where she is in the car driving in traffic, and she and Mikey Day was so hilarious in that sketch. If you haven't seen it, check it out on YouTube. It's so funny. For that alone, okay, she deserves the nomination, but her whole episode was hilarious. Like, she was consistently brilliant, as was someone else who we'll talk about in a second. So yeah, I usually don't talk about, the guest performances, but Quinta really stood out to me as a phenomenal example. And then next up, as I alluded to just now, let's talk about the best guest actors in a comedy series. Here we have Pedro Pascal for Saturday Night Live as well. I mean, yeah. I mean, sure, and if it wasn't for the fact that we also have John Bernthal for The Bear, I would say give it to Pedro immediately. I still think the Academy should give it to Pedro because it is actually a comedic performance, whereas John Bernthal's leans more towards drama, in my opinion. But still, John Bernthal was absolutely fantastic, and I feel like he should be given something for his role in that show. But strictly speaking, I would give it to Pedro Pascal. Like, that would make more sense. And that's it from me, guys. Now that I told you guys my thoughts on the 2023 Emmy nominations list, it's time for you guys to let me know what you thought of this list down in the comments below. I feel like it's a little bit underwhelming overall because there is so much repetition. It feels like the Academy just watched literally like 10 shows and just kept nominating people from those shows. I mean, that's what they always do though. Don't I say this every time? Don't I say this every time? But yeah, I think overall it was a little bit disappointing to see the lack of variety on offer here, but there are some really great, powerful performances that are being nominated, and I'm excited to see who ends up taking the awards home. It might be a while though, because there are rumblings that the Emmy ceremony could be delayed due to an impending actors strike. So we shall see when the Emmys actually drop. It may not be in September as usual. It could be like November or January or something. But either way, it's going to be an interesting night, and I look forward to reacting to it with you guys. But until then, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.